Welcome to Connect to Florida. Today we're going to be talking about manufactured homes. I get questions on manufactured homes fairly often, and I think the reason is that so many people are looking for a way to affordably retire, get in the sunshine, move to Florida. Now listen, I know that somebody out there is saying,
who the heck would want to move to Florida? It's a swamp.
I'm assuming you want to move to Florida, okay? So talking about Hawaii or South Carolina or North Carolina, different topic. We are talking to the folks that want to move to Florida and they're trying to do it affordably, and they're thinking about a mobile home, I'm going to use the word mobile home and manufactured home. I'm going to interchange that. I realize that there are differences and distinctions, and you should be aware of those, between a mobile home, a manufactured home, and a modular home. All different, all little subtle differences, some bigger than others. So, like I said, I'm going to use the word mobile home throughout this video, but that's what I'm referring to as those three things. A lot of people ask about manufactured mobile homes because it looks so fun. You know, maybe they have friends that bought in a 55 plus community and they have tons of activities, which they do. They do have a lot of things to do, especially if you're buying in a 55 plus community. Things like pickleball and tennis and pedal pushers club and dinner club and card games. There's a lot to do, and you can do that pretty affordably. Now, here are some of the basics if you're thinking about buying a manufactured home. So let's start with a mobile home park. Generally speaking, with a mobile home park, the park fees are going to be pretty high. Usually in Florida, on average, anywhere from $600 to $1,000 a month for a manufactured home park. So think that through. That kind of lives in the world of condo fees, so be aware of that if you're going to move into what is classified a mobile home park. So you have rent on that land where your manufactured home is sitting. Keep in mind, you don't own that land. So if the park owner sells that land, you're going to have to pull your mobile home off that property. So that's just something to think about. But generally speaking, the fees are going to be the highest in a mobile home park. Next would be a co-op. So you can have co-op ownership. And basically what that means is that a company owns the land and then you own a share in the company that owns the land. So let's say that share is $35,000. When you put your mobile home in that park, they're going to tell you how much the share, what you're going to pay for the share for that little postage stamp of land. So you might say, oh, okay, well that means that I own the land. No, you own a share in the company that owns the land. So is it better than park ownership, like rental park? Yes, it is, but still yet you have a vote. So if they were going to sell the land, you would have a vote in that, but there's still a lot of restrictions with co-op ownership. And then the last one would be just land ownership. So somewhere like Imperial Harbor in Bonita Springs, they have land ownership in their park. I like that. I don't like the mobile homes in the community because they're really old and they flood it. It floods through there from time to time. But in terms of ownership, it's really nice because you do own the land. There's even a couple people that put an in-ground pool right next to their mobile home. Listen, you can do what you want there as long as it's in the rules and regs. So that means you own the land, you own the little postage stamp, and you can do pretty much whatever you want. I've seen people improve their land nicely. I've seen some parks in Fort Myers that have done really well with a park where you own the land because people have improved around. They put little gardens in, you know, they've really nice care of their land. I've even seen people improve their little spot and put, you know, maybe move from a manufactured home to a modular home. I've even seen, there's one in Bonita Springs called Carousel Cove that sits inside of Bonita Fairways. That one's really cute. And I'd say there's probably 20% of the homes in that little park, I'll call it, that section, those are actually stick-built homes because people just change their mind. They love the community and they put up a stick-built home, a single-family home. So when you own the land, you can do a whole lot more. So those are the three ways that you can essentially take ownership on those. So the question becomes, should I do it? Is it a good buy? So let's talk about the good things to purchasing a mobile home. So let's say you get a really good price on the land and maybe you decide, or you're going to buy a little vacant piece of land. You can put a brand new one on there and customize it how you want to. There's a lot of good new choices with manufactured homes. Things like drywall on the inside. You know, sometimes you go in a manufactured home and you're like, yeah, it looks weird. You have the seaming down the walls. Well, now you can actually get them. Get them drywalled. So they're just made a lot better. A lot of the new ones will take wind up to 140 miles an hour, and that's, I don't know, that's like a Cat 4. So that, you know, that's a good thing. They're just made a lot better, and they're made aesthetically nicer, you know, front porch and back porch, or situated in such a way, and the elevation of it is constructed in such a way that it doesn't look like, you know, basically a shipping rectangle with a porch on the front. It doesn't look like that anymore. So don't, you know, gone are the days of the old 1970s single wides. They look pretty darn cute right now. You could almost call some of them cottages. And then I would say the big thing is that they do gear them, especially 55 plus. Personally, I wouldn't buy in a manufactured home community unless it was 55 plus. They provide so many fun activities, like I said, card games and clubs, and you know, you've got everybody who is looking for that quiet lifestyle with activities to have a really nice retirement in the sunshine. So those will be the good things about buying manufactured homes. Let's talk about the not so good things that you really have to be aware of. All right, number one, they're considered personal property. What do I mean by that? They're considered like a car. Think of it that way. So generally speaking, with a car, the moment that you buy it, it starts to depreciate. It will age itself out. With real property, that isn't the case. You can have historic homes that are worth more than they were many, many years ago. So real estate will appreciate. Personal property does not appreciate. So you have to know that if you're buying this at 70 years old and you get 15 great years out of it, by the time you will it to your family, it's not going to be worth a lot. You just have to realize that. There's not a lot you can do to continue to improve it. There are some things you can do, but generally speaking, it's going to continue to depreciate. They're also really hard to insure. Insurance companies don't want to touch them at all. Can you get insurance on them? You can, but you're going to pay through the roof for it. Very, very expensive to insure them. And then I would also say make sure that you're reading every single line of your policy, because there are a lot of safety nets for the insurance company, not for you. There's a lot of get outs, get out of the deal for them, so that if something goes wrong, there's a lot of not this, but that, yes, that, but not this, in those policy details. So don't just assume that it's a templated policy. There are a lot of things in that policy that you're not going to get paid on. I've seen them where people don't even realize that the roof isn't covered. Oh, and before I forget this is really important. If you buy a manufactured home, you have to register that at the DMV. So a lot of people don't realize that, and a lot of times when you close with a title company or an attorney, they don't always go that next step, or they put something in your paperwork that you signed but you didn't read that says you need to go register your manufactured home. And sometimes two sides to the manufactured home, they actually have VIN numbers on them. So you have to register those. And if you don't, you will have issues later on down the road. I would say when I sell a manufactured home, so when it's something I can sell, which I can't sell anything in a park, but I can sell one that's on land and I can sell one that's in a co-op. I would say 1 in 4 times when I meet with a seller, they never went through that process of registering with the DMV. So when they go to sell, it becomes a backtracking nightmare. Now, this one is both a good and a bad. They're affordable. So what do I mean by that? If you buy one that's not in a 55 plus community with the rules that come along with a 55 plus community, what could happen is you're buying affordability. So if you buy in a park that is not 55 plus, there are a lot of people out there looking for affordability. Would you agree with me that there are a lot of workers out there that maybe have 2, 3, 4, 5 kids and they live and work in Florida, but they can barely afford to do it? So what are they doing? They're looking for affordability. So if they're under 55, they're going to buy in a mobile home park next door to you. And you might think, well, I didn't want to buy in a 55 plus community because I didn't want to be with all the old people, even though I'm 57. I didn't want to do that. And what can end up happening is everybody on your street has 3, 4, 5 kids just trying to make it work, but you really wanted that kind of quiet, fun retirement lifestyle. You have to think about that. They can be really hard to finance. Now, the newer ones, depending on what park you put them in, park rental and co-op, you really can't do a mortgage. Can you get some kind of crazy alternative financing? Probably. It's out there, but it's high interest rate. It's a ton of money down because they're mitigating their risk. For the most part, you have to buy them cash. And then the last one I would say, which is really important and a lot of people don't look for this, if a manufactured home park gets water throughout it, and let's say there was a foot of water, but it never kind of came up to the level of living area, but it got underneath, it got that undercarriage, what can happen is that will mold. That will continue to soften and develop mold in that undercarriage portion of your manufactured home. That, I would say that is the number one thing that I've seen in building inspections, and a lot of times the building inspectors do not go underneath. You definitely need them going underneath. I know they don't want to do it the same way they don't want to go in attics for a single family home, but if they don't go underneath and look, I cannot tell you how many times I have heard mold all underneath the flooring, or the flooring is dipping and sagging. So people they think, oh my gosh, I dodged a bullet. Yeah, water came through the park and it was, it was kind of flowing around here, but it never got up to my living area. But it sat underneath. And in the Florida heat, that will develop mold as that water comes down and recedes. That's going to develop mold really quickly, and you may not even know that you have it. So I guess I would say, is a manufactured home a good buy for you? The answer would be maybe. As always, I always say just go into it knowing everything that you can, and from there you just have to make your best decision and take a leap of faith.